So Joe Biden loves the ladies. I'm not sure if you've been following the news lately, but Joe Biden is selecting women galore to be a part of his team. Now we can make a ton of jokes here about how creepy Joe Biden is and coming up from behind and sniffing you and doing all sorts of things with women, but we're not gonna go that route. We're not gonna even go too political with this route. We're gonna talk specifically the economic team that he is putting together, the economic team of ladies that he is putting together to basically recover the economy. We all know that Kamala Harris was his vice president. You know, Joe Biden is the president-elect. We all know, or you might have heard, that he has selected a team of all women to be a part of the White House senior communications team. And now on the economic side of things, he is selecting a group of 4 women to basically head up the economy and how this affects your money. Let's talk money.
All we talk is money. All we talk is money. All we talk is money. All we talk is money.
All right, so as we discussed, Joe Biden is putting together a team of women to help lead the economy, the economic recovery that is basically going to happen in America if we're going to get to American greatness. Listen, no pun intended with the MAGA stuff and making America great again. So who are the women that Joe Biden has selected? I'm going to tell you right now. Number one, there's someone called Janet Yellen. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about Janet Yellen, but who are the other people that he has selected? Come take a look at this. So this is Janet Yellen right here. We all know her, but he has also named a diverse economic team with 4 women at the top. We talked about Janet Yellen. In addition to Janet Yellen, we got Neera Tanden. She's picked to lead the OMB, which is the Office of Management and Budget. Let's scroll down a little bit. Maybe we can get some information on them. We also have Cecilia Rouse. She's a Princeton economist, and she will chair the Council for Economic Advisors. And last but not least, we got right here, Heather Boucher, no relation to Bobby. She's an economist and a member of the Economic Council. So listen, all these nominees need to be confirmed by the Senate. But for today's episode, we're going to be specifically focusing on Janet Yellen. So what I put together right here is a list. You can see the list right here. I also have some articles right here that we're going to reference. 10 things that you need to understand when it comes to Janet Yellen. So without further ado, let's jump right into Janet Yellen. So first and foremost, who is Janet Yellen? If you're not familiar with Janet Yellen has now been selected to be the Secretary of the Treasury. Some people call it the Treasury Secretary. Either way you want to do it, that's the way it is. Now also, if you're not familiar with this name, you might remember that she was the chairwoman, the first chairwoman of the Fed from 2014 to 2018. She was an Obama selection. Trump basically came to the office and said, you got to go. And he put in Jerome Powell. But basically, she was the first woman ever to be the chair of the Fed. And now she is likely, if confirmed, to be the first woman ever to be the Secretary of the Treasury. Secretary of the Treasury. That's some big news on Janet Yellen. So that's that. That's number one. Who is Janet Yellen? I just told you. So number two, what does Janet Yellen have to say? Like, we're going to cover a lot of information on what people have to say about her, good, bad, and ugly, but what does she have to say? I'm going to read you a quote from Janet Yellen. We'll see if we can pull it up. If not, here we go. Janet Yellen. So Janet Yellen, she tweeted, "To recover, we must restore the American dream, a society where each person can rise to their potential and dream even bigger for their children. As Treasury Secretary, I will work every day towards rebuilding that dream for all." All right, so those are some nice words by Janet Yellen. A little vague, if you ask me. She's talking about the American dream. What does the American dream even mean these days? But that's her response to being selected or nominated as the Treasury Secretary. So that's number two, what Janet Yellen has to say. Now, what are the main reasons for her selection? What I've done is put together, I've gone through all these articles you can see here. There's articles galore. Some of the main words that people are talking about through all these articles. Number one, Janet Yellen is the right woman for the times. That's from the Financial Times. Here's some of the words that are being used to describe her. She's a proven commodity. She has deep experience and she has steady leadership. She's pro-market and she's trusted by the investment community. That's pretty big if you're going to be Secretary of the Treasury. Pretty important stuff. So now, with that being said, I just told you what the Financial Times thinks, that she's the right woman for the jobs. She's getting all these nice accolades, these positive words. That's great. Now, what does Wall Street think of her? What does Wall Street think of her? So, well, if you've been paying attention to what's going on in the stock market, basically the last few weeks, since she's rumors of her being the Treasury Secretary, Wall Street likes this a lot. Wall Street likes us a lot. She's respected by Wall Street. And by and large, it's great news for the markets and investors. I'm going to give you some details right now. As we just discussed, Janet Yellen is the right woman for the times. That's from the Financial Times. They're not left. They're not too far right. They're just kind of down the middle. They're giving you the financial information that you need to know. So the Financial Times called her the right woman for the times. Since the market, since November, not sure if you know this, is like, I don't know if this is breaking news or not, but the Dow Jones just finished its best November since 1987. Let me say that again. The best November since 1987. That's 33 years ago. Were you even alive 33 years ago? The Dow has been up 12% from November. Now, what happened in November? Oh, there was election November 3rd. Biden is now the president-elect. Now there's a lot of stuff going on in the economy. Dow Jones cracked 30,000 for the first time. Now, listen, am I giving all the kudos to Janet Yellen? No, there's a lot of, respect to go along for, or credit to go around for a number of people for these benchmarks for the Great November, for the Dow hitting 30,000. I gotta say Trump is probably at the beginning of this list. He's been a very pro-market, pro-business president, so he's number one on the list. Also stimulus, basically the trillions of dollars that have been pumped into the economy, that has an effect. You might have heard that there's news on the vaccine. Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, these are basically, they're saying that they're at between 95% effective. We shall see, but obviously you got to give credit to Joe Biden and Janet Yellen for the market saying, not so bad, not so bad. So that's what the markets have to say about her and what the Wall Street has to say about her. Now, in the atmosphere, what's going on in the news, what's going on in Congress, what are other people saying about her? What kind of feedback and what other kind of opinions are out there? So I've kind of put together a nice little list for that as well. Stay on me, Louise, stay on me. So Jim Cramer, the host of Mad Money, CNBC, he tweeted out, Yellen, much loved, worth a lot more for the Dow, very big deal, great Treasury candidate. That's Jim Cramer, the host of Mad Money on CNBC. We all know that guy. I think he's respected when it comes to money. Now, Stephen Kyle of Fox Business, we can find his article right here. He basically says, Janet Yellen is the perfect choice at the perfect time. That is from Stephen Kyle of Fox Business. So, respect to him for what he had to say with her. Now, that's on Fox Business, obviously, so they're not exactly leaning left. So if they're giving her respect on that. Now, Congressman Patrick McHenry, he's from North Carolina. I can find the quote, or I have it right here. He's the ranking Republican on the House Financial Services Committees. Let me say that again because I kind of stumbled it again. He is the ranking Republican on the House Financial Services Committee. What did he have to say about Janet Yellen? Well, he said Janet Yellen has demonstrated her intellect, foresight, and independence during the financial crisis and throughout her term as Fed chair. So that's someone on the right side of the aisle basically saying, look, this Janet Yellen, she's kind of got it going on. So respect on that. And last but not least, we got Texas Republican Senator John Cornyn. He's here in Texas. I don't know if you know we're in Dallas, but John Cornyn said, I got no problem with her. That's it. Kept it short, kept it sweet, kept it simple. He's got no problem with her. So now the question is, will she get confirmed? We just heard John Cornyn said he's got no problem. So we've just saw that Yellen is getting praise from all sides. She's clearly receiving bipartisan support, so she should have bipartisan confirmation. We've all seen what's going on when people try to get nominated. You got Brett Kavanaugh, disaster when he went to become the Supreme Court nominee. Amy Coney Barrett, she kind of had a easier time getting into office. But Janet Yellen, she should have a fairly easy time getting confirmed as the Treasury Secretary. Now hear me out here to all my people that think that Joe Biden is going too far to the left. She's a way more friendly pick than Elizabeth Warren. I don't know if there was rumors of Elizabeth Warren being the nominee here. She was basically a super fan of the progressives, tax. Janet Yellen is pretty clear that she is not an extremist. So based on personnel choices, listen, we're not going to get too political here, but Joe Biden's plans on governing from the middle, he's selected a centrist and a moderate, and he's not getting pushed too far to the left. And Yellen is certainly a centrist move. So will I think she has any problem getting confirmed? My answer is no. I think she will be your next Treasury Secretary. Now, what are her positions? What does Janet Yellen actually stand for? What are the things that she believes in? What does she talk about? So I'm going to read it right here. So number one, first and foremost, to all my people out there that are concerned about stimulus, she is very pro-stimulus, very pro-stimulus. So she will not loosen banking regulations. Now, you might recall, if you might not remember her name, Janet Yellen, she took down Wells Fargo during her time as Fed chair. She basically cut up Wells Fargo, sliced and diced them, and they are paying the price. They're not even a top bank anymore because of what she's done to basically make them pay the price. Now, she advocates for economic solution for climate change. Basically, she's pro-climate change. So what will she do to implement those types of policies? Well, she's going to implement something called a carbon tax. A carbon tax is something that she's considering doing. Now, she's dovish on interest rates, meaning that she's not going to jack them up all across the board, and she's not too overly concerned with inflation. So that's some of the stuff on Janet Yellen. Last but not least, at the Fed, she was a strong advocate of working with international allies on economic issues. So you might, again, we're not getting too political here, but Trump, not exactly trying to work with all the allies. He was more of an America first, sort of America first strategy, America alone. Joe Biden is a little bit more multilateralism, trying to rely on allies, while Trump was a little more of a unilateralist, saying, listen, you do you, buddy, we're going to do us, and, we'll kind of see you out there. So that's some of her positions, and it kind of coincides with Biden's position on multilateralism. Now, we're talking about a lot of investment here. We're talking a lot about, Wall Street. Now, what about Main Street? You might be saying like, yo, what about me, bro? What about me? That's great. All these positions. Well, what about me? Let me tell you some of her credentials when it comes to Main Street. You, the working man and the working woman. She's got a deep understanding of unemployment, and she supports high employment. Well, no doubt. Obviously, we want to get people back to work, but she has a deep understanding of this topic. So listen, she is an advocate for more stimulus checks. She is an advocate for more unemployment benefits for the millions of Americans who are unemployed right now. Okay, cool. She also wants to focus on repairing small businesses. She wants to fund state and local governments who basically have had very little tax revenue since COVID. And she's also in support of, individuals struggling to make ends meet. So she does care about Wall Street, but she also cares about Main Street. And to give you a little quote right here, the National Association of Manufacturers, NAM is what they're called. NAM, N-A-M, National Association of Manufacturers, called her a champion of the American worker. Damn, that's some strong words right there. Now, listen, I'm giving her a lot of support, but she is not without her critics. With all the love, there is a little bit of hate. No one's, loved on all sides of the table. So Fox business contributor Grover Norquist, he's the president for Americans for tax reform, basically low tax. Now, what does he have to say? Let's pull up that article right here. He says, Grover Norquist, Janet Yellen as Treasury Secretary will mean what would it mean for American taxpayers? Basically, he says this. Let me find the quote. Here we go. What does that mean for American taxpayers? I'm going to read you the quote right here. It says, to start, it means your personal income taxes will increase. Your 401k will drop in value as the Biden administration and Yellen increase the corporate tax on the corporate stocks in your 401k, and your cost of gasoline and energy will increase. Most telling, Yellen has previously stated her opposition to the Tax Cuts and Jobs Acts, aka the Trump tax cuts, which will be reduced at the corporate income tax and personal income tax. So listen, you can't win them all. You can't win them all. There's some pros, there's some cons out there. There's some people out there that are saying, more stimulus? Are you kidding me? More debt, more stimulus? And there are people that are saying, yo, we need more stimulus. We got to take on the debt. So there's people that are advocates of her, and obviously Grover Norquist is not one of them. Okay, so that was number 9. I'm not sure if you've kept along. I've been going down the list here. Boom, 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 boom. But that was number 9. Now, number 10, and this might be actually the most important one. Obviously, the stimulus is big. But basically, what's her relationship going to be with the current Fed chairman, Jerome Powell? We'll pull up a picture of Jerome Powell right there. Good-looking stud. Basically, they actually get along pretty good. They should work together pretty well. Powell has voted in lockstep, basically, with Yellen on interest rates. Interest rates are super low. They're probably not expected to increase much for the next couple of years. They both agree on more stimulus, and they want it to be big, and they want it to happen now. But listen, something that both Janet Yellen and Jerome Powell need to understand is great short term. Let's get some more stimulus. Obviously unemployment, but the deficit and debt will basically have to be dealt with in the long run. So those are the top 10 things that I put together for Janet Yellen. Now, here are my final thoughts. Yellen and this economic team, I told you the ladies that, that are working on, that Biden put together, there's Neera Tanden, Cecilia Rouse, Heather Bobby Boucher. They got to work together, but they got their work cut out for them, right? So, but listen, obviously we went down the list here. Given her resume, it would seem that she has a track record to basically live up to this moment. Joe Biden has basically promised a lot of things with his economic recovery here, right? So let me just read off some of the stuff that he wants to do. He has promised to address economic inequalities in America. Obviously, the pandemic only worsened that. We talk about the K-shaped economy and wealth disparities, and it's devastated low-income workers. So we'll see what they do with that. Now, listen, if you have not seen my episode on Joe Biden's economic plan, you can check that out right here. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I kind of just went all over the cuff here. I was reading quotes. I hope you appreciate that. But if you have not subscribed to Valuetainment Economics, please do so below. Give that little like button a smash. And as always, save that money.
All we talk is money. All we talk is money. All we talk is money.